and this is the newest addition to Eastgate's development. Today we're building an urban waterfront with some cool unique features, such as custom library, parks and promenades designed to keep you connected to nature, luxury apartments overlooking water, highly desirable high-value spaces, or marinas. What does it take to build a bustling port that transforms an entire city's economy? Today, we're designing Eastgate's new port, a custom project that will create jobs, bring in new residents, and redefine Eastgate's identity. Stay tuned to see how we tackle traffic, design unique areas, and create something no one else has tried in Cities Skylines 2. Let's start by looking at the blueprint. So the plan goes like this. The main connection, or the arterial, is coming all the way from the central highway and splits into two sections, one that goes to the shipyard and another one goes to the port and terminates at the entrance to the port itself. Unfortunately, this is the part where I lost footage because of the crashes, but you can at least see me building the first section of the waterfront by the port. I thought I'd never say this, but this time it wasn't actually the game's fault, but it was the OBS for whatever reason. Only the video of building docks, where the marinas should be, is corrupted for whatever reason. All of the other ones are working just fine. After first elements of the waterfront were in place, I've also changed some surrounding surfaces and added some net lanes just to make the whole area around the port itself more beautiful. I'm also gonna change how this harbor looks. Just gonna add some static ploppables to make it basically appear the way that I want it. Because I wasn't really happy with the original building. So this hospital building turned out pretty nicely after changing the color of it and also adding some more elements on the sides of the building. For the parking lots, I decided to put more of these solar covers just to make it a bit more interesting. And also I've messed up the direction that these parking lots are facing, so that will cover up that error as well. Once the promenades that surround this whole area were finished, using net lanes, I proceeded with combining surfaces and vanilla curbs to create this cool looking park. This process was a lot of trials and errors and redoing same things because it's hard to sometimes it's hard to drag out these surfaces when you have to turn the snapping off. And there were few times where the whole thing was deleted itself because I accidentally overlapped nodes. But nevertheless, the whole process was a lot of fun because I never tried something like this before. I've used the same strategy across the rest of the promenades and parks by adding water surfaces surrounded by either greenery or these curbs paved with these nice surfaces. The most interesting part of this build was, of course, adding the greenery afterwards, and the most exciting part, of course, because it's always cool to see how these little circles turn out when you add bushes and variety of different sizes. The idea behind this section here was to create a cool gathering spot for people living nearby or just anyone who visits Port Eastgate. I've started by creating this little peninsula here and adding a building that would fit into two categories. First of all, it needed to be something that's modern enough, but also not too modern. So I didn't want anything that would dominate the surrounding landscape or something that would create too big of a shadow on the water or surrounding land. So I think this medical university building fit the description perfectly. It's just the right measurement for the peninsula, and it also wasn't too bulky compared to some other static buildings that tried using. It's a shame that it's just a static building, so it won't be functional, but I still think it's a pretty cool addition to Port Eastgate nevertheless. And I proceeded by adding these cool tile decals, red and white ones. The idea behind this was to make it kind of stand out from the rest of the gardens and promenades in Port Eastgate. So it's instantly recognizable once you visit this library. I've also created this cool and unique fountain to make the whole area stand out a bit more. This feature certainly adds more interest to the whole area as it breaks off that whole paved section and adds a bit more nature to the whole picture. I've used J's pillars to create the walls of the fountain and water surface. It was kind of tricky to level the ground around it and to sort of balance the one that is inside to the surrounding, because it's pretty narrow area. But in the end, I think it turned out pretty cool. The main purpose of this mini transportation hub is to get tourists from and to Port Eastgate, of course using our green transportation hub, as well as serving to residents of Port Eastgate and people working in the shipyard. So to create this bus hub, I've used some static ploppable elements of the bus station, combined with surfaces and net lanes to create the surrounding area. And once again, unfortunately, this building is gonna be non-functional, and it's only for aesthetic purposes, but hopefully sometime in the future we'll see the ability to actually use those invisible paths to mimic the actual roads. But for now, I'll have to use alley roads hidden underneath the net lanes so that buses can get to the station. Here I wanted to create some of those pedestrian crossing ramps. You know, those things. But you know, I can get it to only to certain level of realism because there needs to be some kind of slope where it joins the rest of the sidewalk or curb. For this section, I used both edges and borders, net lane pack, and also vanilla curbs. And same thing applies for Port Eastgate, where we have those marinas and waterfronts. Also using net lanes to create these custom pedestrian crossings. And for our mini transportation hub here in Port Eastgate, I've decided to place a couple of these underground subway stations. My original idea was to use one of those overground stops, but I've decided it wouldn't make sense because this whole area is gonna be very crowded and there's also gonna be a school nearby. So it wouldn't make sense to have all of those tracks open and it wouldn't be really safe. So that was a good decision, I guess. And this also looks more symmetrical to the station itself. So as you could see in the blueprint, these subway stations will be connected to our green hub in the center of Eastgate. And for the detailing of this section, I have continued in pretty much the same manner as in the rest of Port Eastgate, so combining surfaces with curves. In the shadow of towering development and expanding urban sprawl, this forest stands as a rare sanctuary of untouched wilderness. Nested right next to the bustling port, this landscape has resisted the grasp of developers, preserving its raw and untamed beauty. Here, nature thrives in its purest form: dense foliage, rock formations, and shoreline shaped by time itself. Unlike the carefully landscaped parks found elsewhere, this place carries the marks of age-old survival. To enhance this wild aesthetic, I'll be adding a mix of decals, uneven terrain, and surface details. The goal is to create a place that feels untouched, unpredictable, and alive. And it instantly adds a lot more variety. So it certainly looks better than before, and I'll be adding a lot more greenery around this area because my main idea was to create kind of like a thick forest around the hill and trying to mimic that mountainy, hilly sort of look with a lot of gravel, stones, rocks. So the forest will serve kind of like a buffer between the residential area and the urban development down the port itself. And it will be like a nice touch with nature, so to speak. I've also placed a lot of rocks, some splashes of rocks using brush tool, and also some randomly placed ones manually. And since we don't have actual grass, I was using a variety of bushes and trees to mimic grass. I spent quite a lot of time on this, probably too much, trying to sort of make bushes and trees follow the natural curvature of the terrain, and I think this brings a whole another level of realism to the look of nature in this game. Really think this should be a default feature in the vanilla game. It really would be cool to see, and since we already have transform tool and move it and stuff like that, it could maybe be possible to make some sort of mod, if anybody's listening. Okay, here I did as much detailing as possible on this little natural part that I wanted to kind of preserve. So the story here is that when the developers decided to do this whole thing, or this whole project, luckily someone wanted to keep this natural resort, so to speak, so that people living up there can enjoy nice views and those amazing lakes and streams that are running through the forest. There's also really cool pathways for hiking, so you can enjoy these nice lakes and fresh air in the forest. I've also made this nice little watch out platform, so you can choose to have a look on the urban development of the library, or you can have a look at the sea and mountain up there. Alright, and now to finish it up, I'm gonna move on to creating more of those marinas that I promised in the beginning. That will be directly used by the people living on the development on top of the hill. I'll use some stairs just to connect the development directly to the marinas and create some nice waterfront there as well. So I'll be using these amazing assets created by Harbor Master J. There's all sorts of things in the package, and it will definitely help create the unique sort of look. And not sure if anybody else used this before, but they certainly work amazingly to really they add a whole new level of realism into the waterfronts, and certainly help create unique sort of look. I'll be also I've also used these boats also created by Jay to make the whole area a bit more lively, and it wouldn't make sense to leave all of these marinas deserted, right? So I gotta add at least some boats there. It's such a shame we don't have proper assets, but these are still amazing and pretty creative usage of or compilation of different props that are available in the game. It's shocking and surprising that we still don't have an actual asset editor almost 2 years after the game's been released. But I'd be happy even with the current editor that already exists, only if it was a bit more intuitive to use. For people like me who don't have a lot of experience in modding or creating assets. But until then, we can use some amazing assets that are created from the props that already exist in the game. It's really cool that you stuck to the end and watched me build this really exciting project for Eastgate. If you enjoyed this episode, you can give the video a like, or if you want to support me further, you can consider subscribing to the channel. Have a nice rest of the day, and I'll catch you in the next one.